Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Fluctus channel. Modern naval ships have service lives that can extend over several decades. However, due to the pace at which modern technology advances, all warships, submarines, and other vessels will eventually be decommissioned and retired from active service. However, what happens to these billion-dollar ships after this process can vary greatly. In the United States Navy, decommissioning a vessel is a lengthy process. Generally, each vessel will be treated to a tour or final journey, where various naval personnel and even private citizens will get a chance to see the aging ship one last time. This will culminate in a decommissioning ceremony. This is a generally somber occasion where Navy commanders reflect on the ship's history and talk about some of the stories that impacted the ship and crew.
Commissioning a ship into our naval service is deeply rooted in tradition. The crew breathes life in the ship, and we wish them fair winds and following seas as they carry out their missions at sea.
In some cases, these once proud ships will end up at the bottom of the sea. This is RIMPAC, or the Rim of the Pacific exercise. It's the world's largest international maritime warfare event and is held every 2 years off the coast of Honolulu, Hawaii. Though the United States serves as the host, Allied military forces from all over the Pacific Rim and beyond are invited to participate. RIMPAC is a perfect opportunity to give thousands of naval and aircraft crew members a chance to participate in realistic combat scenarios. Perhaps the most notable of all of these is SYNC-X. This is when a derelict or decommissioned vessel is assigned to be a target ship during a live fire drill. During this drill, planes, submarines, and other vessels will take turns firing upon the target ship until it sinks. Not only do SYNC-X participants get a chance to fire real cannons, torpedoes, and anti-ship missiles, but they also get to see the real destructive power of these weapons and their coordinated attacks. SYNC-X drills have been going on for decades and have included a number of high-profile vessels. The U.S. military considers these among the best ways to prepare crews for real battle scenarios. As an added bonus, the sunken vessels will eventually serve as habitats for fish and other sea life. can also be used to train military divers in various recovery operations. Submarines are an integral part of modern naval combat. Though largely designed for stealth, subs like the USS Olympia are actually heavily armed with various types of missiles and torpedoes. In 2018, the Olympia and her crew participated in a Sink X drill that helped destroy the decommissioned USS Racine. During the exercise, the Racine absorbed a large amount of damage from various aircraft and nearby vessels. The former tank landing ship was first put into service in 1971 and boasted a hull length of 522 feet. The heavily armored vessel held up to the punishment until it was finally sunk by a Harpoon missile fired from a Royal Australian Air Force Boeing P-8A Poseidon and a Mark 48 torpedo from the Olympia. While the former did immeasurable damage to the vessel's hull, it was the torpedo hit that finally broke the ship's keel and forced it to the bottom of the ocean, nearly 15,000 feet down. Navies around the world have been preserving various vessels for hundreds of years. Among the oldest and most historically significant examples is the USS Constitution. First laid down in 1794, the Constitution is currently the oldest ship in the world to remain afloat. It has also been largely restored to how it would have looked during the War of 1812. Today, the Constitution travels all over the United States, allowing people of all backgrounds to see the ship in all its glory. In fact, dozens of Coast Guard and military vessels are on display at museums and bases nationwide. Whether it is a Navy ship or not, some decommissioned vessels are simply not as valuable as the sum of their parts. In these cases, ships will be slowly torn apart for recycling over the course of several months. A good example is the flat deck barge Davy Crockett. This 443-foot-long vessel began disassembly in 2011 on the Columbia River in Portland. The ship had been partially sunk between the cities of Vancouver and Camas and was leaking oil into the local water supply. The only logical response was to cordon off the barge with a metal wall, then send in workers and heavy equipment to begin cutting the vessel apart by hand. Any and all salvageable steel and iron were recycled for future use, while any potentially harmful materials were carefully discarded. The USS James Polk was a Benjamin Franklin-class ballistic missile submarine launched in 1965. It served until it was deactivated and decommissioned in 1999. From there, the James Polk underwent an extensive scrapping process, according to the U.S. Navy's Ship Submarine Recycling Program. This largely took place at a dry dock in Puget Sound Naval Shipyard. Dry docks are man-made canals attached to nearby waterways. They can be flooded to accommodate ships and submarines of all sizes and types. Once they are in place, the dry dock will be drained, allowing repair or disposal teams access to the entire hull. Most modern dry docks are also equipped with cranes, gangways, and other equipment, which makes working the massive vessels much easier. Taking apart a 425-foot-long, 6,000-ton submarine is no easy process. The best way to approach it is to first cut the sub into sections. This requires the use of a variety of heavy equipment, cutting chains, and cranes. Each section must then be carefully separated from the rest of the hull and dismantled into smaller parts. Even with the best available equipment, it took weeks for any one section of the James Polk's hull to be completely removed from the dry dock. Even after that, it still needed to be cut apart into manageable pieces that could be transported, melted down, and reused. At any shipyard, one of the most important jobs is that of the crane operator. These men and women often sit hundreds of feet in the air, where they can see nearly everything that goes on in the yard. It is their job to move heavy pieces of equipment to and from the vessels in the yard. Though the workers on the ground are essential to the process, it would be nearly impossible for them to do their jobs without the help of these powerful cranes. That's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any of our new content. See you next time.